When it comes to looking at performance, I think it's really important that we have some kind of a system, a metric, more importantly, a concept of what are the things that we should be doing. And how do we measure performance? Do we measure performance based on the small little tasks that I just have to do every day that are remedial? Or are we measuring performance based on the things that are of significant value that actually have some kind of a strategic purpose? Because anyone can sit there and fucking write a list of the things that they need to do and become a tick master because they know they have to do them anyway. But the real key in performance is not learning how to tick the things that you would normally do anyway and becoming a tick champion. It's doing the tasks on a daily basis that have strategic significance. Now, how do we determine if a task on a daily basis has strategic significance? Pardon?
Comes from the plan.
Give me deeper insight. You're right, but give me deeper insight.
The strategic plan.
Give me even more. Dig down. You're on the right path.
Innovator.
No, you're going in the wrong path now. I'll put it together for you. The way that you measure the strategic significance of a task is what is it connected to? Is it actually connected to a goal? And how do you measure the strategic significance of a goal? Is it actually connected to a priority? Because if a goal that you're working on every week, those 5 goals, if a task that you're working on every day that's related to those 5 goals isn't related to a priority, then it has no strategic significance. It may be something that you have to do as a course of your job in order to fulfill your obligations, but all it's going to do is get you to all it's going to do is get you by. It's not going to get you to the next level. The way you get to the next level is by focusing on things that have strategic significance. And so the way that we measure strategic significance is by looking at the performance and by looking at the things that we're doing on a daily basis and asking ourselves this question: is what I'm doing right now above the line or below the line? Now, who's heard of the above the line, below the line concept? Okay, wow, fuck, you guys pay attention, which is great. Let's just revisit that concept so we're really clear of what it is. Now, I look at this from a pathological perspective because I think a lot of people are actually addicted to certain types of behaviour, and that's when it becomes pathological. When you're so fixated in a specific way of behaving, it's deep within your neurology. It's pathological. It's part of your pathology, right? What we've got to understand is there's certain pathological behaviour that's really healthy, and there's certain that's healthy, and there's certain pathological behaviour that's unhealthy. And the goal is, what do you think is the key to changing any form of behaviour? Step 1, what? Awareness. Bingo. Become more conscious. How do we become more conscious? Through practice. Meditation, mindfulness, or just sitting down and just, doing a lot more, personal reflection on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month kind of basis. But for me, one of the things I've learned about consciousness is like going to the gym. You can't just meditate once or twice a month. You can't just go to the gym once or twice a month and expect to drop weight and put on muscle. It's just not going to happen, right? You're not going to get fit if you are only going to the gym a couple of times a month. And the same could be said for, you're not going to get fit if you're going to the gym 3 times a week, but you're eating heaps of shit. Does this make sense? You're never going to out-train a bad diet. That's the reality of the situation. The way that you become strong and healthy is by having a lifestyle around routines. You have routines around your lifestyle. So you have routines around training. Okay? You have routines around your eating. Okay? And you have routines around rest and recovery. But also when it comes to consciousness, how do we become more conscious? We've got to practice. How to become more healthy? You've got to practice the routines that make you healthier. And the consciousness routines that you've got to look at is, are you meditating? But are you meditating on a regular enough basis to make a difference? Because if you're only training once or twice a month, that's not enough to make a difference. Okay, it's enough to feel sore once or twice a month. Okay, and it may, at a very, very, very minute level, give you some form of benefit, better than doing nothing at all. But you're not going to actually improve. If anything, you will barely maintain. If not, you'll be just below the maintenance phase, where you'll be degrading slowly, but not as fast as what you'd be degrading, if you were doing nothing at all. And the same is true with consciousness. And consciousness is not just something you can practice through meditation. It's not just something you can practice through mindfulness. It's something you can practice on a moment-to-moment basis by just concentrating on your breathing. Okay? Or by looking around you and going, what's going on around me right now? And how am I interpreting this? And if I had no judgment in this moment right now, what would I be seeing? In order to apply, and again, what do we apply consciousness to?
Stories.
The things of most significance that will give us the most leverage. So remember in that conversation I said, consciousness is a beautiful tool, but it's how you apply consciousness that determines the benefits that you get from having a higher level of awareness and a higher level of consciousness. Now, because if you apply a high level of consciousness to a relationship, what do you think is going to happen to your relationship?
Flourish.
It's going to flourish. Fuck, that was a hard answer, wasn't it? Okay, if you apply a high level of consciousness and awareness to your health, what do you think will naturally start to happen? You'll start to focus on and do the things that will make you more healthy. And I said, one of the greatest areas of performance, if you want to perform at the higher level, the thing that you focus your consciousness on is your psychology. Because when you focus your consciousness on your psychology, you start becoming aware of the stories. You start becoming aware of the beliefs. You start becoming aware of the values, the things that are important to you that determine what you do. You know, and we look at it from a psychological perspective, the stories determine how we behave, the beliefs determine what we see, but our values determine the level through which we pursue what's important to us. People say to me, Kerwin, how do I get motivated? So I actually struggle to answer that question now because I just wake up fucking motivated every single day. I don't motivate myself anymore. The reason I don't motivate myself anymore is because I'm doing the things that have meaning to me, and there's a reason behind. My number one core value is helping people, and so as a result, I get to show up every day and I get to help people. And as a direct consequence of that, every day I show up to work, I'm completely motivated. Even when I'm fucking completely rat shit, tired, burnt out, I still have a level of motivation. What's interesting is when I'm rat shit, burnt out, tired, at the end of every year, I still have, in most cases, more motivation than most people have on the first day of January. Does this make sense? Because I'm doing the things that have meaning. I'm doing the things that there is a big reason, there's a motive to doing it that make it important. When it comes to the strategic aspect of performance, because there's performance psychology, which is how we think, how we behave, how we move, and then there's strategic performance, which is, okay, I now know how to move, I now know how to operate, but what am I going to fucking do? Because if you motivate an idiot, what have you got? Motivated idiot. Okay? What we need to do is not just motivate ourselves, okay, by working on our stories, by understanding the significance and the impact of our stories and our beliefs and what we see, and becoming more conscious so that we actually start to remove filters rather than impose them. Start becoming conscious of the motives that we have, the natural values that we have, and start associating the things that we have to do to our natural values. If family is important to you, great. Find out how you doing you at the highest level in this particular area will allow you to spend more time with your family. Come up with 500 reasons why doing this will allow you to spend more time with your family. And guess what happened naturally? All of a sudden, you start to be motivated to do the very thing that once upon a time, it kind of bored you a little bit. So for us, what we want to be doing is not just applying applying consciousness to our psychology so that we become more aware, okay, of the things that need to be done to think better and perform at a higher level, but we've got to make sure that we apply that motivation, we apply that energy to the things that actually have some kind of strategic significance so that the things that we do, the levers that we pull on a daily basis actually mean something. So when we look at below the line behaviours are typically characterised by people who are addicted to being busy. Now, who knows people like that? And who can relate to this? And this is some of the dangers, and I share some of this with a little bit of hesitation. With the danger of what I give you is the power of what I'm about to say is quite significant when you use it for the wrong way, as well as when you use it for the right way. When I worked with, has anyone here heard of Stephen Covey? Yes. Wrote the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I worked with their organisation for about 2 years, going back in the late 90s. I turned them around from like a $7 million loss to a $5 million profit, just as a lowly little salesperson who came in and showed them how to use fax marketing, email marketing, and showed them how to institute sales processes. But my manager at the time, I still remember when I went in there, he said, this is my first week, day 3. He goes, Kerwin, all you need to know is this. Management walk around at 10:45 and 3:45 every day. And that is the only time of the day where you need to look busy. He said, because we've got this concept here, it's called minimal observable behaviours. And what that states is when people see you, if they see you for 5 minutes a day or 5 hours a day, what they see in that minimum amount of time is the picture that they'll paint for how you operate for the entirety of your time at work. So if they only see you for 5 minutes a day, and you say, if you're not sure what to do, pick up files and just walk with purpose. Because if they only see you for 5 minutes a day and you're walking with purpose or you're doing lots of dials, they go, wow, that fucking Kerwin, he works really hard. But he might only be doing that for 15 minutes a day. Does this make sense? So he said, all you got to do is look busy. And I was just like, what the fuck have I got myself into? No wonder you guys are at a $7 million loss. You've got fucking ethos and values like this, right? People who are addicted to being busy, they often start things, but guess what they don't? They don't finish. And do you know why they don't finish? In most cases? Because they're fucking bored. They start something and they go, oh, this is fucking boring now. It was exciting at the beginning. It's like a love addiction, Some people are addicted to being in love, so they'll get into a relationship just so they can experience that love. At the moment the love feeling, that chemical reaction runs out because they become familiar, that, well, fuck, this doesn't work. I'm going to go and find something else. and then they go to the next thing, into the next thing. Does this make sense? So people who are addicted to being busy often are characterized by starting lots of things that they actually don't finish, or they start things and they struggle to finish. But their MO is, in order for me to feel whole, I've got to be busy. And I don't know about you, but I totally related to this. Totally related to this when I was younger, where all I wanted to do is feel like I could get home and go, I did a good day's work. And it wasn't about how productive I was, it was about how busy was I throughout the day. And as long as I was busy, I felt like I actually had done something. I felt productive. Can anyone relate to this on any level? Just by a show of hands. Okay, great. But then I started to realize, especially as a sole trader, moving away from being an employee is, number one, it's actually hard being in business. It's actually very difficult. There's a lot of responsibility. It all falls on you. You can't pass the buck. You know, if you don't make a sale, you don't eat. Okay? And I like that. I actually like that kind of responsibility. But then I started realizing this below the line behavior doesn't cut it. Now, when you're in business, especially if you create a successful business, if you create a successful business, that on some level means that you know how to perform at a higher level. But if you get into business and you don't create a successful business, there is an issue with performance. And in most cases, it's people, and I see this all the fucking time because this is what we do, this is what I've done for the last 20 years is work with business owners. And I can hand on heart say the main reason that most people don't succeed in business is because they're busy doing the wrong thing. They're busy doing the things that keep them busy, but the things that they do to keep busy have no strategic significance. There's no strategic significance. It's dominated by lists and ticks. Now, don't get me wrong, lists and ticks are important, but they were coming up with lists of things that they do anyway in order to get ticks to make them feel better about the things that they do, but the things that they do have no strategic significance. There's no impact above and beyond this. Imagine the entirety of your day being summed up by this. The only impact you had was the pressure of the pen on the paper when you ticked. That was the only impact you had because everything you did had no impact at all other than the point of the nib on the paper. That's pretty fucking depressing, but most people don't have that level of awareness to look that deeply to go, fuck, I may be busy and I might feel like I'm exhausted, but fuck, I actually haven't done anything. And that's the beauty of becoming more conscious, because when you start becoming more conscious of the things you're doing, you're not going, well, fuck, I'm busy, but what have I done? And then when you start feeling discontent, I love discontent, by the way. I love discomfort. Discomfort, tension is the chemistry of change. I talk about tension being the chemistry of sales. Sales is a transformational process. Sales is about encouraging someone and taking someone to that point where they're like ready to change, ready to transform. And you don't get someone there by diving straight in the first 3 minutes of a conversation they tell you they have a marketing problem. You get there by finding out what their biggest issues are and creating this high level of tension where they feel so uncomfortable, and the only way they can resolve that discomfort and that tension is by pursuing something that they've never tried before, you know, that has the promise of showing them how to get where it is that they want to go. Does this make sense? And the same is true when you start becoming more conscious. You know, people go, when I become more conscious, I'll have less pain. Fucking wrong. So fucking wrong. When you become more conscious, guess what you get more of? More pain. But the question is, will it be suffering? Because unconscious pain is suffering. Conscious pain, okay, can become liberation. Because you start looking at the things that make you uncomfortable and go, I'm actually not comfortable with this anymore. I want to do something different. You know, I was saying to Ty before, he's like, you know, how was your holiday? I was like, fuck dude, I've only really been on holiday since last Tuesday. Because, you know, I went on this fucking trip around Canada with family. I was on the go every second or third day, and then I got back, I had my son for 7 days, and, you know, if you've got a single parent with a son for 7 days and no support, that's fucking intense, man. And so last Tuesday was the first day we went back to his mum's. I'm like, fuck, I'm on holidays. Okay, finally. What am I going to do? I'm going to sit on the couch and watch fucking Netflix. And the first day I was like, oh, this is awesome. I can sit here in my fucking undies and, you know, and just watch fucking Netflix. And by the way, has anyone seen Queen of the South?
Yes.
Killer. I knew you would fucking love that gangster shit, right? But by day 2, I started feeling really uncomfortable. I started feeling really uneasy. I was like, actually started feeling really guilty. And there was a part of my pathology that was going, it's okay, you need to rest. And I was like, yeah, but there are other ways I can recharge and rest. This is just, I'm not feeling good anymore. And what that tension did is that tension got me off the fucking couch. And it got me outside. It got me bushwalking. Okay, it got me going out and looking for things and going around and cleaning out the house and fucking ended up doing this massive clean out of the house that I've been wanting to do for like 3 years. Then I felt fucking amazing. I felt really good. Why? Because I'd actually been productive. But the only way that I got there was identifying what was creating discomfort. and then going, right, I need to move away from this, I need to resolve this discomfort, okay? And rather than sitting on the couch and smoking a joint to resolve that discomfort, or having a beer or eating a fucking donut, I'm actually going to consciously resolve this in a healthy way. So when you start becoming more conscious of your daily activity, there's a very high probability you might look at yourself and go, fucking hell, I'm not as effective as I thought I was. Beautiful. That's nothing to be ashamed of. You should celebrate that, because that's the start of liberation. Because now you're dealing with truth. You're not dealing with bias. You're not dealing with emotional self-manipulation, because oftentimes we will manipulate ourselves into feeling different because we don't like how we feel. You can honestly feel good about what it is that you do. And when you start looking at this, you start going, fuck, I'm not really being that productive. You start falling into the next category. You go, well, okay, what are the things that are of strategic significance in my life or in my role that I really should be focusing on? And that's when you start focusing on things that are above the line. And things that are above the line are of strategic significance. But the difference between people who are below the line and above the line, what do you think the focus is on? The focus for people below the line is their focus is, I got to be busy. If I'm not busy, I don't know what to do with myself. What do you think is the focus of people above the line? Bingo. People whose focus is above the line, their focus is on completion. But it's of completion of the things that actually have strategic significance. It's not just about completing, being busy, starting things and finishing. It's making sure that they're actually completing things that actually have some form of strategic significance. So I'm not just doing a task because I have to do it and I have to do it every single day and it's just rote. Okay, I'm actually achieving something that at the end of the week I can look at and I can tick off a goal that is actually connected to a priority on a quarterly basis that will get me one step closer to coming in on a quarterly planning meeting and going, tick, I got that one, and everyone going, yeah, that's amazing. The pathway to playing above the line is consciousness. The pathway to anything that you want in life is becoming more aware. So today, as we go through what it is that we do, and moving forward as you go through what it is that you do, I want you to start bearing this in mind. Every day you should be asking yourself this question. Did I play above the line today, or did I play below the line? And self-audit. Every day when you set out your task list, self-audit and go, is this below the line or above the line? Okay, am I just writing tasks that have to be done just so I can get a tick at the end of the day? Or are some of these tasks, or all of these tasks, or at least one of these tasks of strategic significance that will actually get us closer to some form of mission-orientated priority or mission-orientated goal? Who's with me and understands what I'm talking about here? Okay, fantastic. Who's excited to start focusing a little bit of consciousness around their own behaviour and going, fuck, maybe I can use this in a more intelligent way? This concept revolutionised my performance. Because I literally started, I'm one of these freaks of nature. When I learn a concept, I'm fucking obsessive. Like obsessive. And I just don't put something down until it becomes habitual. And because once it's habitual, guess what? Hands free, baby. It's happening whether you want it to or not. It's now autonomous behaviour. So the goal for me is, how do you practice this level of self-auditing on such a regular basis that in every moment you ask yourself this question, is this above the line or below the line? It doesn't become an end-of-day practice. It becomes a way of life. Okay? The same is true with meditation. How do you practice on such a regular basis that it just happens naturally? Okay, you just do it because, fuck, that's just what I do. And if you don't, you start feeling just uncomfortable. How do you make your health and nutrition a way of life so it just happens naturally? Okay, and again, routines. What are the routines that you set up in order to help you play above the line? Now, thankfully for you, we actually do a lot of those routines for you in the form of planning. We're not giving you a task and saying, fuck, work out how to do it on your own. Good fucking luck. Make sure you get it done, because if you don't, you're fired. Okay, we're going, right, here's the plan for your department. Here are all the priorities. Which are the ones that you want to support on and work on? And if you don't have the skills, how can we support you to get them so you can actually complete? You're in the best possible place to evolve. Honestly, you couldn't be in a better place to evolve than you are here. Both of these are pathological. One is healthy. One is mental masturbation. And by mental masturbation, these are the things that we do psychologically in order to get that warm, fuzzy feeling at the end of the day. But then ultimately, as soon as that warm, fuzzy feeling leaves you, you're like, oh, I'm still alone. You get my point? I'm not trying to be rude. I'm actually trying to make a really important point. Because oftentimes, we mentally stimulate our mind in certain ways in order to feel good. Sorry. Jerking off the brain, right? We mentally stimulate ourselves in order to feel good. But the moment the stimulus stops, guess what? You feel empty. Whereas when you actually focus on the things that fulfill you, even when you're not doing them anymore, you still feel fulfilled. Okay, and you don't have to go back and get the hit. You don't have to go back and get the fix. You live in a place of, increased ability to experience joy on a regular basis. Because what do you think, I'm not going to fucking take you guys through the process of trying to extrapolate this, but what do you think most human beings, if not every single one of you in this room right now, ultimately wants more than anything else?
Freedom. Happiness.
To be happy.
Love.
There have been that many studies done on this that it's conclusive.
Love.
Huh?
Love.
Love? No? It's happiness. That's all you want. Why do you think most people seek a relationship? Because they think if they're in a relationship, they will be happy. Why do you think most people pursue money? Because they think if they have more money, they'll be happy. Why do you think most people want to buy a fancy car or a fancy house? Because they assume if they have it, then they'll be happy. That was my journey. Buying fancy cars, buying fancy houses, dating fancy models, okay? And then going, I'm still not happy. Something's fucking missing. And then I was like, what's missing? Well, I'm going to go and find it. And then I basically took 7 months off, travelled all around the world. I literally, one day, I'll tell you this story, I don't know if you heard, I walked into fucking Flight Centre at Burleigh Heads on the Gold Coast. And I'd just come out of a business partnership that had gone bad. I had a lot of money in the bank. I was like, right, what do I want to fucking do? I was like, I want to be happy. How am I going to be happy? I've got to find myself. Where am I going to go to find myself? Somewhere out there. So I went into fucking Flight Centre. You know how they have those big maps of the world on the wall? And I walked in, literally, the biggest jerk off on the planet. I walked in, I was looking at this big map, said to the chick behind the counter, want to go on holiday? She's like, where do you want to go? I said, the most spiritual places on the planet. And she literally was like, what the fuck? But the chick beside her, she clicked on super fast and she just grabbed a pen and a paper and she ran up and said, right, have you ever been to Machu Picchu? I was like, no. She goes, well, you got to go there. Have you ever been to the pyramids in Egypt? No. Well, you got to go there. Have you ever been to the Cradle of Life in Africa? No. Well, you got to go there. Have you ever been to the catacombs in Turkey? No. Well, you got to go there. And she literally started mapping out this world spiritual journey. I'm like, yeah, yes. Surely I've got to be there somewhere, right? And everywhere I went, I'm not kidding you, I was waiting for like fucking Mr. Miyagi or Yoda to like fucking roll out and go, I've been waiting for you. Come with me. And go and fucking bring me in and turn me into a Jedi, right? I'm not fucking kidding you. I was so delusional. I was traveling around the world and I was waiting for some motherfucker to roll out and just go, You have no idea. The antithesis of the whole thing was the sun gate at Machu Picchu. Now get this, right? The Machu Picchu hike is 3.5 days. I was so convinced that a monk was waiting for me in Machu Picchu that I convinced my entire fucking tour group to run to Machu Picchu. I'm not kidding. 3.5 day hike, we did it in a day and a half. Because I was like, imagine this, like the day before we go, and I was like, guys, imagine if we actually treated this like an adventure race. And me being, the smart psychological guy that I am, I started tapping into everyone's values. And before I know it, everyone's like, yeah, we could like fucking run. And I'm not kidding. Day one, we had fucking, half the team had altitude sickness. And I'm sitting there going, come on. They're like, bleh. You can do it. Just put some water and keep going. Fucking vomiting and diarrhea. But they still fucking did it. That to me was like, I got power. I can motivate people who are almost dying to want to still run. But then we camped the night before. There was a lunar eclipse the night previous. We camped the night before, like literally within reach of the sun gate, which is where you go up to at sunrise. And it's cloudy as fuck. And you go up to the sun gate at sunrise. And then as the sun comes up, all the clouds just disperse. And it reveals Machu Picchu. It's stunning. The steps, I'm not kidding, they're this big. And there's like 800 of them. And I'm like fucking... because I was convinced... At the fucking top of the sun gate, Mr. Miyagi was there, okay? Yoda was there, Gandhi was there. There was some motherfucker of a spiritual nature who was going to save me. And I remember getting up there, and the clouds are clearing. And everyone's going, oh, wow. And I'm fucking looking everywhere. I'm like, is there any locals around here that just like kind of hang out? Like, and I'm like, no. I was like, oh, look at Machu Picchu. Yeah, it's beautiful. Fucking is there like, literally, I was like, wow, fuck, where is he? And then I got into Machu Picchu, and I was depressed. Like, not depressed, clinical. I was walking and going, fuck, he never showed up. And then I'd walk around Machu Picchu going, is he here? And I literally walked around Machu Picchu looking for Mr. Miyagi or Yoda or Gandhi, but I was looking for who was going to save me and help me find me. And after 7 months of traveling around the world and going to all these spiritual sites, I was like, fuck, they didn't find me. And I still remember as the plane came into Sydney, it literally touched down. Serendipity, I was like fucking, it was quite funny. As soon as the ground hit, the wheels hit the ground, I was like, it was like, you're looking in the wrong place. And I was like, fuck me. I'm been here all along. And I realised I was looking for me out there, not in here. And the moment I realised I was in here, that's when the real work began. Does that make sense? And it wasn't just the work in terms of, am I above the line or below the line? No, it was the work on developing myself. It was the work on developing my consciousness. The more conscious I became, the more of me I found. The more conscious I became, the stronger my psychology, the stronger my mindset became. It was already quite strong, but it became even stronger. The more conscious I became, the more clear I was on the things that I was supposed to do and the path I was supposed to take in life. I can't emphasize enough, happiness, it's an inside job. If you're waiting for this job to make you happy, you are setting me up to fail. Because I'll keep you happy for a while, you'll put me on a fucking pedestal for a while, and I'll be on that pedestal fucking dancing like whoa, whoa, but sooner or later, if you rely on me or this company for your happiness, I'm going to fall off. The company will fall off that pedestal. Why? Because I'm human. And what do humans do? They make mistakes. I'm far from fucking perfect. I am here where I am because I've made more motherfucking mistakes than almost anyone, but I've applied a high level of consciousness to those mistakes so I could improve myself as a result. Your happiness is in here, and the more consciousness you can apply to your own situation, the happier you'll become. People who are already happy, get this is based on the happiness study, 78% more likely to experience success and fulfillment in their life. 78%. But what do you think most people who are pursuing success, what do you think the story that they're telling themselves? Not telling themselves they're unhappy, they're just going, as soon as I become successful, as soon as I find that relationship, as soon as I find that girl, as soon as I find that guy, as soon as I get that body, as soon as I make that money, then I'll give myself permission to be happy. But you got like a 22% shot at that, if that's your psychology. Whereas you flip the game and you start to go, right, what am I grateful for? What are the things that fill me up? What am I happy about in my life right now? Focus on that, because what we focus on expands. And I'll share with you one other really short lesson before I go about what we focus on expands. This is going back in early 2005. One of my best mates, Rowan Byrne, he moved into my house. I'd just broken up with a girl. Who's heard the story about Isabella? And I'd been with this girl for about 4 years. She had a little daughter. I'd been the pretend dad. Things didn't go well. We broke up. She moved out. My best mate moved in. And he was a golf fanatic. And someone gave me this book one day. It was called The Magician's Way. Has anyone read The Magician's Way? So it's this book basically about this guy who's this stock market trader who has a bit of a slump. And he goes looking for something. And he finds this golf pro who gives what's called these magic golf lessons. And through the golf lessons, the pro will get people to hit the ball, and by the way they hit their ball, he'll read them like a tarot card and give them insights and advice. And I read this book and I'm like, fuck me, this is amazing. Like, this book is incredible. I'm not kidding, I read the book in like 2 days. And I ran downstairs to my mate Ron. I was like, Ron, have you read this book? He said, no, I haven't. I said, mate, you've got to read this book. I gave him the book. Literally, because he's a golf nut. I'm not a golf nut. I think golf is a great way to kill a bit of time, but it's fucking painful, right? But it is a great combination of psychology and mechanics. Has a great place in society, but just not in mine. He came up 8 hours later and he goes, dude, this book's fucking amazing. Is this dude real? I'm like, fuck, how do I know? I'm pretty sure it's a fictional book. He goes, oh man, imagine if this guy was real. I was like, tell me about it. I've been fucking fantasizing about meeting this fucking fictional character since I read the book. But I had assumed it was a fictional character. 2 weeks later, Rowie comes fucking bouncing, burling through the front door, and he goes, you will not fucking believe what happened. I was like, dude, what? He goes, I've just been down to Warringah Mall and I just bumped into a guy I haven't seen in 2 or 3 years. And we started talking. He started asking me about my golf game. And he said, what are you looking? He goes, yeah, I'm really looking for another golf pro. And the guy says, well, what kind of a golf pro are you looking for? He goes, well, just read this book called The Magician's Way. He's like, and I said, well, why are you laughing? He goes, oh, Steve Addington in that book? He goes, yeah. Oh, the real name of that golfer is Chris Sparkway. And he's actually the golf pro at Balgala. And Ron was like I've got goosebumps. He came fucking burling back. He said, I've already rung and made my first appointment. I was like, you fucking son of a bitch, I want to get into this. Long story short, I ended up developing a relationship with Chris Barkway. He became one of my best friends. And I've had dozens of magic golf lessons. And I'm not kidding when I say it's a magic golf lesson. It's transcendent, it's quantum, it's like nothing you can explain. But I still remember very clearly, and this is the power of focus, and where we apply our focus, we'll expand. And if we're applying our focus to happiness, it'll expand. If we're applying our focus to performance, it will expand. If we're applying our focus to the things that we're upset about, they'll expand. We're out on hole number 9. And I think it was a long par 4. And we're, I don't know, maybe 40, 50 metres out from the hole. And he goes, okay, Kerwin, I want you to hit a few balls. So I started hitting a few balls, and I fucking wing, swing. Everything was going every which way but straight. He's like, Kerwin, where are you paying attention to? I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to fucking pay attention to I'm just paying attention to the ball. He goes, the ball is the false target. He goes, the ball, because I was like, well, I was paying attention to the ball. I was trying to get my body right and everything. He goes, Kerwin, it's got nothing to do with the ball. It's got nothing to do with your body and everything to do with the hole. He said, focus on the hole. Just focus on the hole. Don't hit the ball. I just want you to look at the hole, focus on the hole, close your eyes, visualize the ball dropping into the hole. Open your eyes, focus on the hole, and just see the ball going into the hole. I'm not a good golfer. The very next ball, fucking, I'm not kidding, maybe 4 or 5 centimeters from the hole. And I was just like, fucking, whoa. He goes, Kerwin, what you focus on expands. Let's go deeper. He said, close your eyes. And close my eyes. He goes, I want you to focus on the birds. Focus on the birds. So I started focusing on the birds, and guess what I started to hear? Birds, but more birds and more birds. And then about 30 seconds later, a flock of rosellas, which are like some of the noisiest motherfucking birds you've ever seen in your life. Like literally, he was probably where Booney is right now, leaning up against a golf cart, and I'm just standing there leaning on a golf club. And I opened my eyes in kind of like shock as a flock of fucking rosellas, and rosellas are bright. They're red, green, blue, very bright, and they're fucking very noisy. They came screeching between us, and as they came between us, we both went, whoa, and he looked at me and I looked at him, he's like, whoa, that's never happened before. And I was like, fuck. He goes, whew. He says, you're a lot more powerful than you realise. And I was just like, oh yeah, you just pass it off. He goes, okay, let's do it again. Close your eyes. Now focus on the traffic. And so guess what I started to hear? The traffic. Guess what I stopped hearing? The birds. The birds basically went away. And all I heard was traffic. And I was honk, honk. Because Balgala's on the corner of Sydney Road and fucking Condamine, I think, or Pittwater. And so I was like, honk, honk. And then all of a sudden, no kidding, 30, 45 seconds in, you hear this massive smash. And I open my eyes and he opens and I look at him and he's like, and I was like, I didn't fucking do that. But he said, what if you did? What judgment are you applying to it right now? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it otherwise? How do you know that accident didn't create an injury for someone to get taken to hospital to find and uncover something that perhaps they needed to uncover that could have been life-threatening? And he goes, Kerwin, it's not about the accident, it's about your focus. And at this point, I'm not kidding, I was fucking shaking. Like I'm sitting there going, I don't want this kind of responsibility in my life. I don't. Like, this is too much. Like, this is almost 20 years ago, right? So I was like, I was still immature enough to go, fuck. And he said a great line. And I'm sure some of you will know exactly what's coming next. He said, Kerwin, with great power comes great responsibility. He says, where you choose to apply your focus, it will expand. And what happens is your responsibility. If you choose to focus on things that expand in a negative way and things are manifested, that's your responsibility, my friend. If you choose to focus on things that manifest and expand and create a positive outcome, that's you, my friend. But the one thing you need to understand, it's all you. It's all you. And that day changed my life completely, and I started becoming, and again, by the way, I'm not fucking perfect. Some of you hear me whinge, some of you hear me moan. No, I have bad days. But overall, my practice is always, okay, just focus on the right thing and everything will be all right, because whatever we focus on will expand.